Welcome back to another episode of Emotional Nightmares. My name is Tyler. I'm your host, and on today's episode, we are going to stick with the original theme of our channel, which is addiction. So, came across somebody on TikTok sharing their addiction story. I asked them to come on to the show, so they're going to come on, kind of share with us their journey on what it was like, what happened, what it's like today, in a roundabout way. So with that, we're going to go ahead and introduce Mariah. So Mariah, if you want to kind of introduce yourself a little bit.
Yes, so my name's Mariah. I'm an addict. I've been clean for about 5 years. For me, it kind of started at a young age. I'm 35 now, but when I started kind of getting into drinking and doing drugs, I was 13, 14. My addiction kicked off when I was 15. Um, it kind of was gradual for me. It started with pills, alcohol, sniffing to, shooting and doing things like that. So my life got pretty bad pretty quick. I am a mother. I could not stop using for my kids. Um, a lot of trauma in my background, trafficking, SA, prostitution, things like that.
The things
I
that
ended up
kind of go
home.
hand in hand with addiction.
Yeah. So, I was just, I would do anything and everything to get high. And that put me in a lot of different situations that not only am I not proud of, but things that have happened to me that have caused trauma today. So basically, I ended up getting clean after a 14-year run. I had been in rehabs, detoxes, jails, psych wards. I have tried to take my life after, the sexual assault. I was just, it just was repetitive. I would go into detoxes and rehabs, nothing would change. I was on mat services, methadone, Suboxone, you name it. Nothing changed within me. It was just kind of putting a band-aid on it. Again, just in and out until my sister called me one day. My sister's 11 months older than me. She called me one day and said, Mariah, do you want to go to rehab? At that point, my family was planning my funeral, trying to figure out where my kids were going to go to. It was that serious. I weighed 90 pounds. You could not even recognize me. I had track marks all up my neck, all up my arms. It was just pretty bad.
So it's probably safe to say you are. So let's rewind, right? Because we kind of blew through a lot of stuff. So, um, so it's safe to say you are, I'm gonna assume a heroin addict,
Mhm.
opiates,
Yep.
okay, needles,
Mhm.
experiencing homelessness,
Yes.
okay. So the whole nine on that. How old were you when you had your first kid?
15. I got pregnant at 15, had him at 16.
Okay. So you're a
Yeah.
teenage mom.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Trying to paint the picture here before we blow through a bunch of stuff. So in this process, so you're in and out of rehab. You went to so you've been clean for 5 years. So how old are you?
I'm 35.
35. So you got sober at 30 then.
29, 30. Yeah.
Okay. So from we'll say from like 17 to 30, we're in and out of rehab, right? How many
Uh-huh.
how many rehabs do you think you were in total?
25.
About 25?
Mhm.
Okay. MAT programs, so you're talking about methadone, Suboxone. How many times did you try those programs? Because I'm going to assume, and you can correct me
Mhm.
if I'm wrong, you probably bounced back and forth between the two.
Absolutely. Methadone was a program that I was on long term. I want to say up to 10 years, but I would get kicked out for dirty urines. Um, I would leave just because either I was on a bender and couldn't make it to the clinic. It just was an ongoing cycle, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Methadone generally is, right? Like It either works really well or it works terribly. There's no in between. It's either really good or really bad. There's no in between with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been to about 25 rehabs, so you're now 30, and now your family's sitting you down to say, you gotta go to rehab again.
So it was beyond that point. They knew I've gone to rehabs, try to get clean for my kids, try to go for my family, try to go for court, for drug court, never stayed clean. It got to a point where, again, my sister had called me out of the blue. She's 11 months older than me, and she kind of cut ties with me. So when she had called me that last time, was like, "Hey, like, do you want to go to rehab?" I kind of like just, you know, chuckled it off like, "Okay, like I'll go." But within 24 hours, she had me a flight to California from the East Coast. So that's where my journey really started. And that's how I have my 5 years today. I really put a lot of work in. But yeah, it got pretty bad. They were literally planning my funeral. Where are my kids going to go? How are we going to bury her? Because I was an addict for 14 years, an IV, smoking crack. I was shooting cocaine. I was just a garbage junkie, if you want to say that. It just,
Me too.
yeah.
Me
Anything
too.
to take me out of like my mental and like take me out of, how I was feeling. It didn't matter what it was. Yeah, my DOC was two specific drugs, but anything that was there, I was doing.
So you say something that's pretty interesting, right? Because like you're going through, you've been in and out of all these rehabs, and clearly, and I tell people all the time, like your kids are not enough, probation's not enough. Like if probation was enough to keep you sober, we would not have drug and alcohol counselors today. There would be no need for us, right? So you're going through all this stuff. Clearly, you can't get sober for anybody else, because it just doesn't work. But what is that moment, right? Because obviously there's something going on at this point in time where something clicks in your head that says, shit, now's the time, right? So take me
Mhm.
back to 5 years ago. Why was it different that time compared to all the other times?
To be honest with you, again, my sister really didn't give me a chance to change my mind. I was in the airport crying, using my first day in detox, even my 7 days in detox. It was a blur for me. But I remember very vividly, I was standing out after my 90 days in rehab, and I was talking to my sister. And I was honestly like, I'm just going to go get on state assistance or claim like unemployment. So, any way that I could like get over on the system. And my sister was like,
Right.
Mariah, like, you can't think like this. Like, it was like an eye-opening moment for me that, like, I had to really learn how to be an adult again. And when I was clean after those 90 days in a new environment, and my sister was like, telling me, like, are you listening to yourself? It really clicked. Like, well, I need to do something different. I need to build a life. And obviously, my 14-year run of addiction wasn't doing anything for me. I can't really explain it in a way other than like my sister checked me, being like, this is your thought process. You're a child. Like, you're trying to like figure out how
Right.
you're going to live on state assistance, how you're going to claim self-employment, how you're going to do XYZ. Like, what are you going to do to build your life? And that really stuck with me. And that's kind of where it started. But it was 90 days after I got, once I got out of rehab, and life really hit me in the face like, wow, like the world does not open up because you get clean. It takes a lot of work to be able to stay clean and like build your life. It's not just about putting the drug down. So it's kind of like that was that moment for me.
Okay. So, all right. So that leads us to the most important of all of this, right? So generally, when we do these episodes, we kind of give the back history a little bit, and we'll go more into a little bit of it. But the most important thing of this all is for the past 5 years, you've stayed sober, right? So how are you doing it for these 5 years that's different compared to any other time you've done it? Because that's the most important, is how do we stay clean?
So for me, um, nothing changed in the past just because I wasn't committing myself. I wasn't giving myself a chance. I mean, I was getting out and going in the same situations. I would stub my toe and it was like, oh my God, I'm going to go use. When I got clean and I'm out here in San Diego, I'm by myself, I have my kids, and I'm like, all the days I wanted to say fuck it, I didn't. All the days that I wanted to use, I didn't. Just pushing through those moments kind of made me realize how strong I am. 5 years in now, looking at my life, it's crazy to say because hindsight's 50/50, but
Okay.
I I feel like I've built my life so well where I'm at now that I don't even think about wanting to go back out and get high. Like I have my life in front of me. Of course, my kids are a good reason for me to stay clean, but every so often I may get triggered, but it never leads to any, I'm going to go pick up and use. I think really just filling that void of your addiction, once you fill that void of like, why you were trying to use with something new, your life, your career, what you love to do, your kids, a home. Like I've been able to like, I was in a shelter, finally was able to get my own place because I went back to school. I worked my ass off. I rode the bus for 2 hours, 2 hours there, 2 hours back with my kids. Like being able to accomplish things, I feel like for me has been that moment of like, I can accomplish more and then continue to build. I can accomplish more and continue to build. So that's kind of how I've been able to stay clean, to be honest with you. I've accomplished, I feel like, quite a bit in my 5 years between like a car, an apartment, a career, being able to buy my kids things that I couldn't buy before. I mean, a lot of different things. But not only that, like my self-esteem, like I know that I'm worth it today.
Okay. Absolutely, right? And we as drug addicts, I mean, we're the most resilient people, right? Like you're gonna accomplish 1 + 1 = 2. I always tell people if all my problems are centered around drugs and I put drugs down, obviously
Mm.
now life is gonna happen, right? And a lot of good things are gonna start coming out of that. Um, so on your day-to-day basis, right? Because you talk about a lot. So you've gone through a lot of trauma in your life,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
one of them, so you were sexually abused, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So I kind of want to touch on that a little bit too. Um, a part of that, right? How do you deal with that today in a different light, right? Because when we're sexually abused, one of the problems that comes is trust, right?
Mhm.
Lack of trust, even building relationships with other people. So like, how are you able to build healthy relationships with dealing with that trauma of the past?
To be honest with you, I feel like just for me anyway, boundaries, being able to read other people's intentions. I feel like I'm a very good-hearted person. And trust, of course, like even when I got clean, like I was going after wrong relationships. I had focused, I made sure I stayed single for 2 years to solely focus on myself. Because I picked that up right away. Okay. Like I wasn't trying to do the same repetitive, like even though I'm clean, why am I going back after relationships like that? So I was like able to acknowledge that. And I spent 2 years really working on myself, you know what I mean? As far as like, being able to trust again or just being able to be okay in my skin. And I think just being able to build healthy relationships with the people that you're able to do that with, not surrounding yourself with sketchy people or, I'd be lying if I'm saying like I still don't get nightmares. I'm on medication for nightmares, trauma. I still have a lot of that I still need to deal with, but I think just really working on yourself and being able to understand that it wasn't your fault, and you're not a piece of shit person and, things like that.
Okay. I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's a good answer. So one of the things the U.S. said, and you actually said this in a TikTok reel,
Mhm.
nonetheless. So I've been patiently waiting to talk about this because you talk about the PTSD from Child Protective Service.
Yes.
You had made a
Yes.
reel about that, right? And I don't
Yes.
think, and I agree with you. When I read this reel, I was like, I'm so happy she's coming on the show because we don't talk about this enough. A lot of people don't. It's one of those things. You've either been there and you get it, or you haven't been there and you don't understand. So for the people that are listening, because most of my viewers have been in the system, right? Just
Okay.
about everybody. I think you don't come listen to me if you're doing well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so so generally speaking, right? So explain that. Let's go into that.
Yeah. So this happened recently because I was really thinking on it. I'm like, why am I this way? I've had CPS involved in my addiction. I had CPS involved early on in my recovery. Um, for me, I was like, is this PTSD? Because I'm always thinking like CPS is going to come and take my kids away. That's it. And then I will be rage cleaning, or my son has autism, so he screams on the top of his lungs like he's being murdered when he's really just not knowing how to regulate. I'm like, great, the cops are going to come. And I'm so fearful that CPS is going to wrongfully take my kids away because I have a past with drugs. I've been clean for 5 years, but it doesn't matter. Like I have noticed that this happens on a daily basis. When I get up, I need to make sure the house is clean because you never know who's going to come in the house. So that's why I wanted to make a reel, and I didn't realize how many people identify with that. I was like, I thought it was freaking nuts. But I swear to God, I was like, is this even a thing or am I just tripping?
It's extremely common. So I'm in a weird position because so I've been a part of this system my whole life, right? And like, I've also worked for the system. So I also worked at Child Protective Services for a period of time too.
Okay.
I ended up quitting because it's a corrupt system and full of bullshit. But neither here nor there. They get mad when I say that.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's a real thing, and I don't think we talk enough about that, right? Because they come down here, they call it CYS. They don't call it CPS. They call it CYS over here. So, Children and Youth Services. They rebranded the name. So,
Hmm.
so they don't. I don't think we talk enough about that because that is genuinely a problem where, unfortunately, you have caseworkers that are not have never really experienced much in life. A lot of them are only like 24, fresh out of college, and they come running through a family and think that the best course of action is to take children, and nobody talks about the aftermath that's left, right?
Yeah.
Um, which is what you're talking about. So, um, have you're just now identifying this, right? So you haven't
Yes.
really found the coping skills for this.
No, I literally just identified it like, right after I asked about it on my reel because I'm like, I've been like this since for 5 years. And is this a real thing? And it's crazy because I've thought on it before, but I was like, out of nowhere, I was like, this has to be CPS, PTSD. And then I was like, maybe that's a thing. So let me see if anybody else has gone through it. But it's crazy because, my son, he has severe separation anxiety, from CPS, and it wasn't that long that they're separated from me either, but he still has it. And it's a problem today because he also has autism. So it's like it's traumatic on me because I don't want them to be pulled from me, but thinking about my kids, how traumatic would that be for if that had happened again? So feeling like my life has to be pitch perfect is insane to me because an everyday family is going to have stuff on the counter or toys on the floor, and I can't let it be that way.
Yeah, and like with everybody listening, like it's okay. It's okay to have stuff on the counter, right? Because
Yeah.
nobody is allowed in your house if you don't want them,
Yeah.
including Child Protective Services. They actually don't have any authority. They can't come in your house if you don't tell them they can. So
Yeah.
it's okay, right? And it's okay. You're allowed to because like that is like a thing, and and that it is very traumatic for the kids, and we don't talk enough about that either. Like it is very traumatic for the kids because all these families want, take the kids away, but it's
Mhm.
like, man, like it actually hurts the kids more,
Yeah.
because now they're ripped out and put with strangers or and whatever other situations. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of trauma for everybody all the way around. But
Yeah.
I saw that reel of yours. I was like, oh man, that's real stuff. That's a
Yeah.
real trauma. So,
Yeah.
what what do you do on your day to day? Tell me like your day to day on how you stay sober because you said you've gone to many like of the we'll call them the 12-step programs.
Mhm.
They weren't for you. You found other ways. So,
Mhm.
that's good, right? Because we always talk about those programs aren't for everybody. So what is it that you have found that works for you?
For me, I pray for one. I don't like NAAA, and that's not to say that it doesn't work for anybody else, but I always felt like if, mind you, when I first started on my journey, I was on medically assisted treatment, MAT. I was on methadone. A lot of people, I feel, in NA look down on the MAT services, or they feel you're not really recovering if you're on MAT. So that turned me the wrong way because I was like, I'm really turning, like I was on MAT services and really turning my life around. Again, it got to a point where I got off of MAT, but for me, it was just building strong relationships, to be honest with you. And really just working on myself really hard. It's hard to explain because it's like people always wonder, like, well, if you didn't do NA, what did you do? And I just worked. I worked extremely hard. That's what I did.
Yeah. And unfortunately it is like that, right? And
Yeah.
it's crazy because I work in a MAT program. Like I'm a drug and alcohol counselor at an MAT program. And unfortunately, like you hear it all the time where people, there's only two programs really. There's quite a bit of them out there, but two of them mainly that are in every city and every town. And we tell people to go there to get help, and then they go there, and then it's, well, you're not really clean because you're on methadone, or you're not really clean because you're on Suboxone, which is bullshit, right? And I always try to explain to people recovery depends upon what you feel your quality of life is. If you can
Mhm.
tell me your quality of life is better today than what it was when we were shooting dope out of a mud puddle, then hey, we're in the right spot. You know what I mean? Like we're in the right spot. So it doesn't matter how you got here as long as you got here. So, um, but you got off of the MAT program,
Mhm. I did.
one of the few.
To be
How
honest
did
with you, how did I do that? So
yes,
for me, because I had been on methadone, 10 years in my addiction, and I was on it for a year and some change while I was clean, I felt like it no longer served me. I felt like it had done its purpose. It got me to where I felt like I was ready to come off of. And I'm such a big supporter of MAT services, but I also am a big supporter of coming off of it. And I know everybody's different, but for me, that's really when my life really changed. I wasn't handcuffed to the clinic. You know what I mean? That was like my biggest thing. You can go, you can get all the take homes you want, but you're still handcuffed. Like I had months worth of take homes. It didn't matter because I still had to go back. I was tired of waking up and feeling like, oh, I didn't take my dose by 9:05. I'm going to be sick because that was still my sick thinking. Um, and that's crazy to say because I was clean. But to
right,
me, I just didn't want to be dependent on it anymore. I just felt like it served its purpose. I didn't want to wake up every morning and have to take methadone. So I decided to hop off of methadone to get on Sublocade. In order to do that, I had to be cold turkey for 3 days. Just so happens it was over Christmas, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to do it over Christmas, but I'm not putting it off because that's another thing. Like we put off like going to rehab, like, and we do the same thing with getting off of MAT services. Like, oh, I'm not ready, or let me taper, or let me do this, and that's fine. But for me, I had done that enough in the past of putting things off. I was hopping off on Christmas. I got on Sublocade and I felt like it worked good for me, but I was like, I still have to go and get an injection to be well for every 30 days. So after 60 days, I just got off. I didn't feel well for a few days and I chalked it up as like, that's it. Pretty much.
But it wasn't that bad though, right?
No,
So
we make it that bad. You know, it was
yeah,
not that
we
bad.
do. We do. And like I always tell people that are on the methadone stuff, like I do think the next step down is the Sublocade shot, just because.
Mhm.
So the kind of to kind of backtrack, right? So for 10 years you're on methadone. So what ended up really happening is like you've created your own ritual, right? Where it's wake up, take this medication, or obviously in the beginning it's wake up, go to the clinic every day till you get
Mhm.
some take homes, but you're still like, getting this medication first thing in the morning. That
Mhm.
becomes the routine. So
Yeah.
the Sublocade shot being um the next step, one of the things that I think that it does, because it lasts for a whole month in your system, I think the benefit is it allows you to regain your life, and you don't have those liquid
Yeah.
handcuffs, as they say.
Yeah.
um and it kind of gave you that ability to do so. So then you did it for 60 days. Coming off of it in those 60 days, you just felt a little sick. It wasn't that bad. Because
Wasn't that
everybody's
bad.
fear is it's going to be that bad because they only know methadone sickness now. And
Yeah.
that's
No,
hell.
coming off of yeah. I mean, coming off of the Sublocade wasn't. I mean, because it lasts in your system. I guess they say it has like a half-life. Like once you stop going for a month, you're still gonna. If you don't go back that following month, you're gonna still be okay, and you'll eventually feel like the residual of it, right? But it wasn't bad at all. I gave it a week or two, and I felt just fine. And to be completely honest with you, like I really liked Sublocade, but I just in my mind I was like I was only getting on Sublocade to kind of get off of methadone. The next step was to get off of Sublocade and kind of be off of everything because I really wanted to know what that life felt like because I had been on Matt services for so long.
Yeah. And you did it. You reclaimed
Yep,
your life.
yep, sure did.
What what have you found is the most beneficial thing for you on a day to day? Like you
Routine, um, if that makes sense. I mean, of course, I have kids, and my
100%.
life is centered around that, but consistency. And I always say consistency because the thing is like on days that I just don't want to do it, I still do it anyway, and end up happy that I did it. Right, whether I'm tired, overwhelmed, like today, a whole lot's going on with my child. He's not on his medication right now for his autism, and trying to get him back in routine. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm very overwhelmed, but I need to, if I committed to like saying I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here, whether I'm tired, overwhelmed, don't feel good. Just staying consistent is like been the biggest success for me in my 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. So, so during this journey, right? You keep
Mhm.
saying like you're working on yourself. What
Mhm.
does that mean, working on yourself? Like, tell me what that looks like.
So, a lot of different things. So, I was very when I got clean, I was still very manipulative. I was again, like I said, when I first 90 days out talking about I'm going to get on welfare, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Working on myself, like trying to change all the other things other than just getting sober. I needed to change a lot of like defects I felt in my character. I knew I was a good person. It's just I had lived a certain way for so long that I needed to unlearn that behavior. I really just came up with a plan, like setting goals. Again, we were in rehab. I'm not rehabs. I was in a shelter with my kids. I just, on days that I wanted to say F it, I got up and I went to school myself. My kids went to school. I went and got my MA so I could start kind of working in kind of the position I have now, 5 years later. But doing a lot of self reflection and accountability. I've read different like self help things. My sister used to send me stuff on audio and stuff like that. But just really trying to sit with myself for those first 2 years, sit with my own thoughts, sit with my own feelings, realize that like this is only temporary. Like, for me, of course, as an addict, something goes wrong, it's the end of the world. I've had to learn that, like, it's okay, Mariah, like, it's good, and being able to kind of move past that. So a lot of self work, I would say, on my part. I still have a lot to learn and I feel like, continue on my journey, but for the most part, I've been able to kind of change those behaviors.
Okay. So, do you feel like you are out of survival mode and actually living life now?
I do, but financially, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, financially, we're all fucked.
Financially, no, but no, but yeah, but no, for real though, yes. With when it comes to my addiction and how I was in my recovery now, like this morning, I was able to go to the beach and just sit on the sand and watch my kids run around, and I was at peace. It's like I'm no longer. I was in survival mode for so long, especially with my trauma, my addiction, my family addiction, like um today I feel like I'm really at peace, and that's not to say like tomorrow won't be a shit show, but for the most part I'm not in survival mode anymore.
Okay. So, what do you think some of the biggest lies are that your addiction told you about yourself that you've discovered are not real?
So many. So that I'm worthless. I'd be better off dead. I can continue to use. Using was the only thing that was keeping me sane. Using was the only thing that was making me feel better. Using was healing the trauma within me. So many things, almost everything on a daily basis was a lie. My addiction lying to me, telling me that I didn't have to, don't go to rehab, you're just going to get out and use again, things like that. And,
So, what do you think some of the biggest surprises are to you since you've been sober? Like, what would have been some of the biggest shock moments of like, oh shit, I can't believe I did that?
I mean, I got, to be honest with you, 5 years. I made a goal that I was going, like, not thinking I'd be able to do it. And that's why I ended up starting my Phoenix sleeve on my arm, was because when I got out of rehab, I said, I want to stay clean for 5 years, not thinking that I'd be able to do it. So when I hit 5 years, I was in such shock because I'm like, not only did the time fly, but I really worked my ass off, to get to where I'm at. Looking back now, like a big shock for me too is realizing that I was able to recover and continue to recover. In my addiction, like I just did not think it was possible. Like I don't know how to explain it, but I just did not think that it was possible. And that looking back now, I'm like, damn, like it's possible.
Well, I think a lot of people, and even the people that are listening today that are struggling, I think, you know, one of the biggest misconceptions is like people always talk about like, well, just stop, like it's a choice.
Mm, yeah.
And like, yeah, I wish that was the case. In our reality, like we get high because we're in pain, but I'm in pain because I get high,
Hmm.
right? So it's like that endless cycle of
Yeah.
guilt, shame, and all this bullshit that it just keeps us going.
Yeah.
So when you break that cycle, I think everything is a shock value of like,
Yeah.
oh shit, like wow, life is actually pretty decent. Like I'm
Yeah.
not in pain, you know? And then of course your pink cloud goes away and you got to deal with the trauma,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
eventually you have to deal with the trauma one way or another. Like
Yeah.
you just have to. Um, so right now there's somebody listening. Hopefully there's somebody listening that, unfortunately they're still stuck where you were, right? And they're going through the same bullshit of emotional abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, trauma. They're stuck in the cycle of the MATs. They're stuck in all of this. What is it that you would say to that person?
So I would say do it scared. Like I know for me anyways, I was very fearful. Like you're worth it. And you don't have to think of everything when you get clean of having to do a million things. Just take it slow, but do it scared. Like we're all scared in the beginning. But if you do it for fearful, you come out on the other side, you're gonna look back one day and be like, shit, I did that.
Where can these people find you?
They can find me on TikTok, out of the Fog 82. I'm in California, but you can find me on TikTok.
Okay. Uh, Anything else you want to add to this?
Yes, that I want to connect with all my recovery people. Even if you're not in recovery, I want the people that are still using, that are still feel broken. Like, I just have such big passion for all my people that are struggling with mental health and addiction. Um, Come find me, and I would love to support you and give you guidance, as I would expect to receive support and guidance back.
You guys got lots of stuff out there in California for, well, I mean, it's kind of the birthplace, right? So California is the birthplace of at least Narcotics Anonymous. Um, so you guys have so much shit for recovery on the West Coast than what we do over here on the East. Um, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
from the East Coast. I came from Delaware, and my whole addiction was on the East Coast. So now that I'm on the West Coast, that's where I got clean, which their program was good out here. I will say that. And they do have a lot of resources for rebuilding your life, whether it's case management, homelessness, wraparound services. So they do have things like that. So,
yeah. And there are, I think there's like close to 500 self-help groups right now. Um, all of them are incorporated some form of 12 steps, but um, if one doesn't work, try the other one. At the end of the day, just keep trying something new, because like something's
well,
got to change. I
yeah,
know I'm a big fan of like the Buddhist style of like refuge recovery stuff, but that's me
yeah,
personally. But
yeah,
you guys got a lot of stuff out there. Um,
yeah,
so okay. So see, I told you it wouldn't
yeah. I
be
know.
as long as what you thought it would be.
I
Yeah.
know it. I liked it though. This was my first podcast, and I enjoyed it.
Well, you can always come back on if you have even particular things you want to talk about, individual things. We can come on and do a whole show about it. Um,
Okay,
whatever.
sounds good to
So
me.
absolutely. So with that, right? So with that, man, I appreciate you. You could have been anywhere in the world today, but you sat here and chose to be with us for these 40 some minutes. So
Of
I
course,
appreciate you for listening. I
of course.
appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe to this. Make sure you send it off. Um, hopefully, if you're watching it on YouTube, hurry up and click it off and go to Spotify. I would much rather it be there. YouTube's a bunch of crooks. But neither here nor there. But we appreciate you, and I appreciate you for you coming on.
Thank
So,
you.
absolutely. So, tune in next week.